Today I am going to discuss about glycogen metabolism. For this, first we have to know what is glycogen. Glycogen is the main stored form of glucose in our body. Glycogen is stored mainly in liver and in skeletal muscle. Liver contains about 80 to 100 gram of glycogen, and in skeletal muscle there is about 300 to 400 gram of glycogen. Now come the structure of glycogen. Glycogen is a polysaccharide made up of alpha D glucose. The main glycosidic bond is alpha 1,4 linkase. When there is about 10 glycoside residue, there is appearance of a branch and there is alpha 1,6 linkase at the branch point. Now, what is the function of glycogen in our body? Muscle glycogen serves as a fuel reserve for the synthesis of adenosine triphosphate during strenuous exercise, and liver glycogen maintains our blood glucose concentration during stages of fasting. Now, fluctuation of glycogen store. Liver glycogen increases during well-fed state and depleted during early stages of fasting. Muscle glycogen usually do not affected during few days of fasting, but moderately affected when there is prolonged fasting like weeks. Muscle glycogen replenish to synthesize the glycogen stored in muscle when there is reduction of muscle glycogen actually occur during strenuous exercise. Then come about glycogenesis. What is glycogenesis? Glycogenesis may be defined as the synthesis of glycogen from glucose, or we may say synthesis of glycogen from the molecules of alpha D glucose is termed as glycogenesis. Now come the salient feature of glycogenesis. Substrate of glycogenesis is glucose and the product is glycogen. This glycogenesis occurs in liver and skeletal muscle in the compartment cytosol. The nature of glycogenesis is anabolic and the rate limiting enzyme is glycogen synthase. Here ATP requirement, 3 ATP is required for each glucose molecule attachment, and this glycogenesis is regulated. Is stimulated by glycerine and glucose 6-phosphate and inhibited by glucagon and catecholamine. Now come the steps of glycogenesis. First step, synthesis of uridine diphosphate glucose. As we know that in glycolysis, glucose produces glucose 6-phosphate with the help of enzyme glucokinase present in liver and with the help of enzyme hexokinase present in skeletal muscle. This glucose 6-phosphate then isomerized to glucose 1-phosphate with the help of enzyme phosphoglucomutase. This glucose 1-phosphate then reacts with uridine triphosphate to receive glucose molecule and form uridine diphosphate glucose and pyrophosphorylase catalyzed by the enzyme UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase. Now come the second step, that is the formation of a primer for glycogen synthesis. The rate limiting enzyme of glycogen synthesis is glycogen synthase, but this glycogen synthase only can elongate the already existing glycogen chain by receiving or accepting glucose molecule from UDP glucose. It cannot initiate the glycogen synthesis. For initiation of glycogen synthesis, we need a primer. In a cell in which the glycogen is not totally depleted, a small fragment of glycogen molecule may act as primer. But in a cell in which the glycogen content is totally depleted, a protein called glycogenin acts as a primer and receive glucose residue from UDP glucose and start glycogen synthesis. Then come the step, that is elongation of the glycogen chain with the help of enzyme glycogen synthase. After formation of primer, then glycogen synthase continue to accept glucose residue from UDP glucose and connection occur carbon 1 of glucose residue receiving from UDP glucose and carbon 4 of the outer end of the existing glycogen chain. The addition of glycogen molecule residue of the pre-existing glycogen chain or a primer occurs at the non-reducing outer end of the molecule so that the branches of glycogen molecule becomes elongated as successive alpha-1,6 linkages are formed. Now come the formation of branches in glycogen. When a growing chain is at least 11 glycosyl residue, then branching may appear. Branching enzyme transfers a part of alpha-1,4 chain containing at least 6 to 8 glycosyl residue from the non-reducing outer end of the glycogen chain to a neighboring chain to form a alpha-1,6 bond or linkage at the branch point. When there is branch point appear, then further elongation of the glycogen chain occur with the linkage of alpha-1,4 bond receiving glucose residue from the uridine diphosphate glucose. Now we see the biosynthesis of glycogen and the pathway of glycogenesis and glycogenolysis occurring in the liver. First advantage is that glycogen exerts less osmotic pressure than glucose and prevents osmotic lysis of the cell. Then glycogen possesses high energy value than glucose. Glycogen does not diffuse out of the site as it is colloidal in nature. Now come our next topic, that is glycogenolysis. What is glycogenolysis? Glycogenolysis may be defined as the breakdown of glycogen into glucose in liver or glucose 1-phosphate in skeletal muscle. It is not the reverse of glycogenesis, rather it is a separate pathway. Now come the salient feature of glycogenolysis. Here substrate is glycogen and product is glucose in case of liver and glucose 1-phosphate in skeletal muscle. And this glycogenolysis occurs in liver and skeletal muscle in the compartment of cytoplasm. Nature is catabolic and rate limiting enzyme is glycogen phosphorylase. Pyridoxal phosphate is an important coenzyme in case of glycogenolysis. Now come the point ATP involvement. There is no ATP used or produced in glycogenolysis. And the regulation of glycogenolysis stimulated by glucagon and catecholamine and inhibited by insulin and glucose 6-phosphate. Now come the mechanism of glycogenolysis. First come the step, that is shortening of the chain. As we know that glycogen phosphorylase is the rate limiting enzyme of glycogenolysis, so glycogen phosphorylase catalyze the rate limiting step in glycogenolysis. The phosphorylated cleavage occur in alpha-1,4 linkage of glycogen to yield glucose 1-phosphate. Glycogen phosphorylase requires pyridoxal phosphate as its coenzyme. The terminal glycosyl residue from the outermost chain of the glycogen molecule are removed sequentially until at least 4 glycosyl residue are present on each side of the branch point, that is alpha-1,4 linkage. Then come the removal of the branches. The debranching enzyme has two distinct catalytic sites. One debranching enzyme is glucan transferase. It transfers once the trisaccharide unit one chain to another chain, exposing the branch point, and the second debranching enzyme is the amylo alpha-1,6 glucosidase that catalyzes the hydrolysis of alpha-1,6 linked glycosidic bond to liberate free glucose. Then further phosphorylation occurs by the help of enzyme glycogen phosphorylase, and thus complete breakdown of the glycogen chain occurs. Then conversion of glucose 1-phosphate to glucose 6-phosphate. glucose 1-phosphate produced by glycogen phosphorylase now converted to glucose 6-phosphate with the help of enzyme phosphoglucomutase. In liver but not in muscle, this glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose with the help of enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase. As we know that in muscle there is absence of enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase, it cannot be converted to glucose. Now from liver, this free glucose then transported to blood to maintain the blood glucose concentration until gluconeogenesis starts to maintain the blood glucose concentration. Now you see the steps of glycogenolysis. So these are all about glycogenolysis. Now come what is the difference between this muscle glycogenolysis and hepatic glycogenolysis. The major product of muscle glycogenolysis is glucose 1-phosphate, and in case of hepatic glycogenolysis, the major product is glucose. Muscle glycogenolysis, glucagon has no effect, but in case of hepatic glycogenolysis, glucagon stimulates the hepatic glycogenolysis. Catecholamine is the major stimulator of muscle glycogenolysis, but liver glycogenolysis, catecholamine stimulate also it. Then adenosine monophosphate stimulate muscle glycogenolysis, but in case of hepatic glycogenolysis, adenosine monophosphate has no effect. Then free glucose. Free glucose has no effect in muscle glycogenolysis, but free glucose in case of liver glycogenolysis is inhibited. Then purpose of muscle glycogenolysis is to provide energy for muscle, and the purpose of liver glycogenolysis is to maintain the blood glucose concentration during stages of fasting. Now come about the role of liver glycogen. The main role of liver glycogen is to maintain the blood glucose concentration during fasting. Liver glycogen also decrease the catabolism of amino acid and increase protein synthesis in the liver. Then liver glycogen also provide protection to hepatocytes against various toxic cells. And liver glycogen also increase the hepatic capacity for detoxification of drugs, toxins, etc. Now come about the role of muscle glycogen. Muscle glycogen act as fuel reserve, that means stored energy of muscle and provide energy to muscle. Then the effect of blood glucose level, actually in hyperglycemia, muscle glycogenolysis tends to reduce the blood glucose concentration back to normal. But in hypoglycemia, the role of muscle glycogen is usually negligible. Then now come about the difference between liver glycogen and muscle glycogen. The amount of liver glycogen is about 8 to 100 gram and the amount of muscle glycogen is about 300 to 400 gram. The storage status liver glycogen fluctuates, but muscle glycogen usually does not fluctuate. Then the importance of liver glycogen that it maintains the blood glucose concentration, and muscle glycogen provide energy to muscle. Then turnover rate in case of liver glycogen is high, but in case of muscle glycogen the turnover rate is low. Then conversion to glucose. Liver glycogen can easily convert to glucose, but muscle glycogen conversion to glucose usually not possible due to absence of enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase in the muscle. So these are all about glycogen metabolism. Thank you all.